My parents called me selfish for not paying off my sister's loan, so I moved to another country and changed my name. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've always been the afterthought in my family. My younger sister, Chloe, was born 4 years after me, and from the moment she entered this world, she became the sun we all had to orbit. She was dramatic in that charming way people find amusing in toddlers, but she never outgrew it. By the time we were teens, Chloe could crash the car and still get ice cream on the way home. I could get straight A's and barely earn a nod. My parents always said the same thing to me. "You're the strong one. You'll understand." But I didn't understand. Not when I had to skip summer camp so Chloe could go to cheer competitions. Not when my birthday dinner got canceled because she had a bad breakup. And especially not when she flunked out of her first college within a year. And my parents sat me down and said, "You still have your scholarship. Chloe has nothing. Help her, just this once." They meant it literally. They wanted me to give her the remaining funds from my college savings account, the one I'd worked part-time jobs to pad while Chloe was out shopping with Dad's credit card. I said no, they cried. That was the first time I really saw it. The script had already been written. Chloe was the fragile one, the chosen one. I was the sturdy one, the utility son, the spare. I eventually got into a decent state school with financial aid. But the message was clear. When Chloe messed up, I was the insurance policy. At the time, I told myself it was just bad luck. Just one rough decision. But I didn't realize the knit was just the beginning and it would only get worse from there. Chloe was 22 when it finally hit me that her life was a revolving door of disasters, each one somehow landing on my shoulders. She dropped out of her second college after trying it for the experience. She wrecked Dad's car while drunk and posted crying selfies afterward, turning her own recklessness into a pity campaign. She maxed out 3 credit cards buying clothes and concert tickets, then acted stunned when the bill showed up, and every time, without fail, my parents turned to me not to comfort me, not to ask me how I was doing, but to ask what I could give up this time. When Chloe ran up the credit cards, Mom said, "You're so good with money. Can't you help your sister get back on her feet?" When she crashed the car, Dad asked, "Could you lend us your bonus this year? Chloe needs a reliable vehicle for her future." When she dropped out again, Mom cried, "She's lost, sweetheart. You're stable. Just support her for a little while. Support her." That word became a curse. By the time I graduated and landed a stable tech job, something I'd worked for without a single ounce of help, they weren't proud. They were scared. They said things like, "Now that you're doing well, don't forget who needs you. You moving out feels like abandonment. Your sister needs your guidance more than ever." When I signed the lease on my first apartment, my parents didn't congratulate me. Instead, my mom said on the phone, "So, you're really leaving us when Chloe's still struggling? After everything we've done for you, everything they did for me." I almost laughed. But I didn't single quotes. Then came the final blow. Chloe took out a massive personal loan, more than she had any business receiving. And once again, my parents showed up at my door with trembling voices, wet eyes, and phrases like, "Please, you're her only hope." And I felt that old familiar tightening in my chest, the feeling that no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough. And this time, they wanted more than ever. When my parents first mentioned the small favor, they said it so casually, I thought they were joking. We were sitting in my living room, my mom clutching her purse like it contained her dignity, my dad tapping his foot like he was preparing for a fight. Chloe sat between them, eyes wide and glossy, like she'd rehearsed a sad girl expression in the mirror before coming over. Mom started softly, "Sweetheart, Chloe's in a little bit of trouble. Nothing dramatic," Dad added, "just needs a helping hand. A small thing for you, really." Then they slid a folder toward me, a loan consolidation plan, totaling $35,000. "Just co-sign it," my mom said, smiling like it was a birthday card. "Yeah," Chloe sniffled. "You don't even have to pay anything. It's just paperwork." I closed the folder. "No," I said calmly, directly. For once, my dad's face hardened immediately. He leaned forward. "You're putting money above family." My mom shook her head in disbelief, whispering, "I didn't raise you to be selfish." And Chloe burst into tears like she'd been waiting for her cue. "I'll end up on the street," she sobbed. "I'm your sister." I took a breath, kept my voice level. "Chloe, I'll help you make a budget. I'll help you find a job. But I'm not co-signing a loan you can't afford," she laughed through her tears. What am I? 12? I need real help. My parents nodded like that settled everything. But this wasn't help. It was ownership. It was them tying my future to Chloe's never-ending spiral. My mother pressed her hand to her chest, trembling. We're not asking you to pay it. We're asking you to show commitment to your family. But I saw through it. This wasn't a request. It was another sacrifice mine, not theirs. And they weren't leaving until I gave them what they wanted. I thought saying no would be the end of it. I thought they'd storm out of my apartment, guilt-trip me for a week, and then let it fade into the background like every other argument we'd swept under the rug. I woke up to 64 new messages on WhatsApp. A group chat had been created overnight. Its title, Chloe's Crisis, the members, every aunt, uncle, cousin, and family friend I hadn't heard from in years. People who never texted me for birthdays or holidays were now suddenly flooding my phone with messages. Come on, man. She's your little sister. We all help family in tough times. Your mom's been crying nonstop. Just sign the thing. Then came the photos. Chloe had posted a close-up selfie, eyes red and puffy, mascara smeared, lower lip trembling just enough to be aesthetic. Caption, wish I had a brother who cared. The likes rolled in. Heart emojis, prayer hands, virtual hugs. No one asked why she was in debt. No one asked what I had already sacrificed. My phone buzzed again. My mom, publicly in the chat, were all so disappointed. He humiliated our whole family. I don't know what happened to the sweet boy I raised. I just stared at the screen, the words like daggers dipped in syrup. What hurt most wasn't Chloe's manipulation. It was that everyone believed her. No questions, no nuance. Just blind loyalty to the golden girl. I tried to type out a response. I started and stopped a dozen times, but I knew anything I said would just make it worse. Defending myself would look like cruelty. Silence would look like guilt. And that's when it hit me. They weren't trying to solve anything. They just needed someone to blame, someone to fund her mess, someone expendable, and I'd always been the easiest one to use. I thought maybe, just maybe, drawing a line would make them stop. I sent a calm message to the group chat. No blame, no anger. Just a boundary. Until this pressure stops, I won't be attending any family dinners or calls. I need space. Please respect that. 2 minutes later, my mom replied with a novel. Wow, cruel. You'd abandon your family over one mistake. Over your sister. Then my dad chimed in, you're tearing this family apart. You think you're better than us now. I stared at my screen, stunned. This wasn't confusion. This was accusation. And Chloe, she doubled down like she'd been handed a script. He told me he would help, then ghosted me. He promised. I never said that. Not once. But she spun that lie so smoothly in the group. Even I started questioning if I'd misunderstood something. I replied privately, asking her what she was doing. She left me unread, so I called straight to voicemail. Again and again. Blocked dot, then the whispers started. My aunt messaged me, saying, I don't know what's going on between you and your sister, but she's heartbroken. My cousin posted a vague status. It's always the quiet ones who betray you the worst. Betrayal. For saying no? For protecting myself? I tried calling my mom. She answered, sighing like I was some telemarketer. I asked her, point blank, why she was letting Chloe lie. She snapped. She's in pain. People say things when they're hurting. Why are you making this about you? That broke something in me. It wasn't just gaslighting, it was weaponized guilt. And the worst part, it worked. I started to wonder if maybe I was the villain. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe I could have just co-signed and made it easier for everyone. But then I remembered the last time I gave in, and what it cost me. And I knew if I gave them this too, there'd be nothing left of me. It was close to midnight when the knocking started. At first, I thought it was my neighbor, maybe a package mix-up or a noise complaint. But when I opened the door, there she was, Chloe drunk, mascara streaked, hair in knots, arms folded like a sulking child who'd just lost her favorite toy. She pushed past me without asking and collapsed onto my couch, muttering, "You ruined my life." I didn't speak. I just stood there, stunned. Watching my sister unspool in real time, she threw her purse across the room, nearly knocked over a lamp, and started sobbing into a pillow. I was counting on you, she slurred. You always get everything so easy. I mess up one time, and you treat me like trash. I bit my tongue. One time. She kept ranting, called me selfish, arrogant, heartless. Then she curled up on the couch and passed out, still wearing her boots. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat at the kitchen counter, staring into the dark dot. By morning, she was gone. No note, no apology. No thanks, but my iPad was missing. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I texted -nothing, so I checked Find My Device. Sure enough, it was moving across town, pinging from a neighborhood I knew she had no business being in. I called my mom, still trying to believe this wasn't what it looked like. Her response? Maybe if you hadn't pushed her away, she wouldn't have felt desperate. Why would she steal from her own brother? She's not a criminal. That's when something in me snapped. I drove straight to the precinct and filed a police report. Not to punish her honestly. I didn't expect anything to come of it. But I needed it on record. I needed to draw a line. That was the moment everything truly fell apart. Because once Chloe found out, she didn't just retaliate, she declared war. I didn't even know it had happened until my manager pulled me into a side meeting. He looked uncomfortable fidgeting with his pen, eyes darting toward the door like he wished someone else was handling it. Just a heads up, he said gently. We got a call from someone claiming to be your mother. My stomach dropped. She said she was worried about your mental health. That you were acting erratic, unstable, might hurt yourself or others. I felt like I'd been slapped. I actually laughed at first, because what else can you do when your own mom weaponizes concern to destroy you? I assured my manager it wasn't true, and thankfully, he believed me. It said I didn't need to worry. That he could tell something personal was going on and just wanted me to be aware. But then the online reviews started. Chloe posted anonymously on Reddit, even Yelp, of all places, claiming I was emotionally abusive, manipulative, dangerous to women. She wrote that she was my ex, so it looked plausible. A few fake accounts chimed in to back her up. I watched in real time as my name got dragged through digital mud by my own sister. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Random emails, DMIs, some people asking if the rumors were true. Others threatening me, calling me a narcissist, a monster. I locked my accounts, shut down my socials, changed my passwords. Still, it felt like they were everywhere inside my apartment, under my skin. That week, I broke down in my manager's office and asked for a leave of absence. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. Take the time you need, man. We've got your back. I left the building and sat in my car, engine off, just staring through the windshield. Everything I had built, my work, my name, my peace, was under siege. And it wasn't strangers doing it, it was blood. And for the first time, I didn't just want space, I wanted out. I didn't walk into that law office looking for revenge. I wasn't trying to sue anyone or launch a courtroom drama. I just needed to know what I was legally allowed to do. The weight of guilt was still sitting on my shoulders like a boulder. Years of being told I was selfish or too cold had chipped away at my instincts. I kept second-guessing myself. Was I really abandoning Chloe? Had I taken it too far? So I booked a consultation with a family law attorney just to get the facts. No emotions. No family voices in my head. Just clarity. The attorney, a woman in her 50s, with a no-nonsense tone and a kind face, listened without interrupting. I told her everything. The loan, the cosign request, the stolen iPad, the digital harassment, the manipulation. She sat quietly for a moment, then said, "It's good you didn't sign anything. If she defaults and given her history, she likely would you'd be liable for every cent. They wouldn't go after her. They'd go after you." I nodded. I expected that part. But then she added something that made my skin crawl. And if you keep giving her money, cash Venmo. Bailouts it could eventually establish what's called patterned financial support that can be used to argue obligation later, especially in civil claims. I blinked. Wait, so by helping, I could be legally tying myself to her mess. Exactly. People assume generosity is harmless. But if it's consistent, it creates expectation, which can be used against you. That hit me harder than I thought it would, because suddenly it all clicked. I hadn't just been manipulated emotionally. I was being strategically abused, targeted, gaslit, used as a failsafe financially, emotionally, reputationally. They weren't confused. They weren't overwhelmed. They knew exactly what they were doing, and I finally understood if I didn't disappear, I was going to drown. My 28th birthday should have been simple, quiet. Maybe a dinner out by myself, maybe a movie, maybe nothing at all. After everything that had happened, I wasn't expecting balloons or a card. I wasn't expecting forgiveness or reconciliation. I just wanted a day without drama. I woke up to 2 messages. Not happy birthday, not we love you. Just this from my parents. Hope you're happy without us. No context. No warmth, just a sentence sharpened into a blade. I stared at it for a long time. My chest felt tight, like someone had reached inside and squeezed. Then my phone buzzed again with a notification from TikTok. Chloe had posted a video. She was smirking, music playing in the background, doing that smug little hair flip she always used when she wanted attention. The caption said, "When your brother thinks he's better than the fam." The comments were full of laughing emojis, people calling her queen, telling her she didn't need toxic relatives. And there she was, my own sister mocking me publicly for not letting her financially destroy me. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt hollow. I bought myself a small slice of cake from the bakery down the street, put a single candle in it, sat at my kitchen table in silence, staring at the flame. For a moment, I remembered being a kid blowing out candles while my parents clapped for Chloe louder than for me. Even then, I was the background character in my own birthday. I took one bite of the cake and set the rest aside. It tasted like nothing. That's when the truth hit me, calm and cold. These people weren't my family anymore. Not in any way that mattered. Not by love. Not by loyalty. Not by respect. Blood means nothing when the knife is always in your back. I opened my phone, went to my contacts, and blocked every single one of them. When I turned off my screen, the silence felt different. Not lonely, just freeing. But I had no idea how much darker things would get after this. The message came while I was halfway through ignoring another barrage of blocked number voice, email. It was from Kanara, former coworker I hadn't spoken to in nearly 2 years. We'd been on the same dev team before he left for Europe, chasing some startup dream in Lisbon. I assumed he'd vanished into the tech world, never to be heard from again. But there he was, casually dropping into my inbox like a lifeline I didn't know I needed. "Hey, random, I know it's been a while. Our team is growing, and I remember how sharp you were. Want to work with us? Remote, or even better, move here. We cover relocation." I reread it 3 times before I could breathe properly. At first, it felt absurd. Leave the country. Just go. Abandon everything. But then I realized I didn't have anything here worth staying for. No one was checking on me out of care. No one missed me. The people who used to call themselves my family had turned me into a villain, a bank account with a pulse, an obstacle to be shamed. Lisbon, Portugal. It sounded foreign in every possible way. And that was exactly the point. No Chloe, no guilt. No family group chats or weaponized birthdays. Just ocean air and clean slates. I called Connor heart-pounding. His voice was casual, welcoming, like nothing had changed. "Dude, the team would love to have you. It's a fresh start over here, and you deserve one." He didn't know it, but those 4 words cracked something open in me. I deserve one that night. I packed a single duffel bag. My lease was month to month. My job had already approved my leave. My life was mobile. My peace was not, so I said yes not. Not because I was running away from them, but because, for the first time in my life, I was running toward myself, and it felt terrifying and powerful and just the beginning. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. No goodbye text, no forwarding address, no social media post with a cryptic quote about new chapters, just a plain white note taped to my kitchen counter. "Don't look for me." That was it. When the plane lifted off the tarmac, I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just stared out the window and let the hum of the engine drown out the ghosts of every memory I didn't want to carry anymore. I landed in Lisbon with 2 suitcases, my work laptop, and more rage than peace. Anger was the only thing keeping me upright at that point. Anger that I had to flee to another continent just to feel safe. Anger that my family made me believe I was the problem for finally saying no. But underneath that rage, there was something else beginning to bloom. Not joy, not yet permission. Permission to become someone new. I found a small apartment above a bakery that smelled like fresh custard tarts every morning. The landlord spoke broken English. I didn't care. I wasn't there to talk. I picked a new name to use in my journals, one no one back home would recognize. It didn't feel like lying. It felt like shedding skin. I started therapy with an expat counselor. I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Just listened, asked the right questions, challenged the narratives I'd been force-fed since I was a kid. Every morning, I walked along the Tagus River, just me and the water and the breeze. I deleted every number from my old phone. Not blocked deleted, gone. No trail. No temptation. Was I healed? Not even close. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't being watched. Judged, expected to carry someone else's guilt. I hadn't found peace yet, but I had found distance, and that was the first real freedom I'd ever known. Still, peace would prove harder to keep than I thought. It had been 6 months. 6 months of quiet mornings and late-night walks. 6 months of not jumping every time my phone buzzed. 6 months of learning how to breathe without guilt pressing down on my lungs. Then the letter came, no return address. Just my name, my legal name, not the one I'd started using privately, which meant someone from the inside had given them a thread to pull. Inside was a handwritten note from my mother. The handwriting was familiar, curled, precise, way too neat for what it carried. We heard from your cousin Jordan that you're in Lisbon. Chloe's in rehab now. She's finally turning things around, but she needs her brother. Please come home. Be part of her recovery. She needs you. I read it 3 times. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just an expectation. Like I was the missing piece in their redemption arc. I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived. Thicker envelope. Angrier tone. This one was from my dad. You may think you've escaped, but you haven't. We gave you everything. Food, school, a roof. And this is how you repay us. By disappearing. By abandoning your sister in her time of need. You owe us. Don't forget where you come from. That letter shook something loose in me, not regret. Resolve. They still didn't get it. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a resource, a utility, a spare part in their broken machine. So I walked out to the tiny balcony, struck a match, and watched that second letter curl into ash in the breeze. No tears, no second guessing. The moment the flame touched that paper, I felt lighter because, for the first time, I didn't feel bad about cutting them off. I felt free, but they weren't done with me yet. And next time, they wouldn't send a letter. They'd send Chloe. It was just past 6 p.m. The sun was dipping behind the buildings, casting long shadows on the cobblestone street below my apartment. I was making tea when the buzzer rang. I assumed it was a delivery. I wasn't expecting her. When I opened the door, I froze. Chloe, standing in front of me. In Lisbon, her hair was tangled, like she hadn't brushed it in days. Eyes bloodshot, face pale, lips dry and cracked. She looked like a ghost of her selfless golden child. More desperate shadow. I'm starting over, she said before I could speak. I'm clean. I just need a place to crash. Just for a few nights. Her voice was quiet, almost rehearsed. The kind she used when she was trying to sound fragile. But I knew that tone too well. I'd heard it every time she needed something. I didn't respond. I just stood there, my hand on the door, my pulse thudding in my ears. It's me. I shook my head once. No words. Then, slowly, I closed the door. She started yelling immediately. You're heartless. You think you're better than us now? You abandoned me. She pounded on the door, screamed so loud it echoed down the block. Neighbors peeked out their windows. Someone from the bakery across the street walked out. Watching with concern, after 10 agonizing minutes, building security arrived. She resisted at first, but eventually left dragging a suitcase, flipping me off one last time as she rounded the corner, and when the silence returned, it hit me. I slid down to the floor, back against the door, and I broke. Guilt, rage, relief, grief. It all crashed in one overwhelming wave. I wanted to open the door. I wanted to scream. I wanted to take it all back and do it again, but I didn't move. I didn't chase her, and I never opened that door again. 1 week after Chloe showed up, I walked into the local civil registry office with a folder tucked under my arm and a decision I'd been building toward for years. I was done being the version of me they all thought they owned. My first name, my last name both felt tainted. Every time I heard them, I felt tethered to a life that never really belonged to me. A name given to the dependable son, the quiet one, the fallback plan. A name they'd shouted when they needed a favor and forgotten when they didn't dot. So I changed it. I picked something simple, clean, something that didn't carry the weight of decades spent being invisible. It wasn't symbolic or poetic, it was just mine, a name that hadn't been used against me, a name no one back home could hold over my head. The clerk looked at me, puzzled. "You sure about this?" I nodded. I've never been more sure of anything. It wasn't a rebellious act. It wasn't revenge. It was released. 2 weeks later, the certificate arrived in the Malala Plain government envelope. No celebration, no confetti. Just a new identity printed in ink and sealed with a watermark. I held it in my hands for a long time. The paper trembled because my hands did, and then I cried. Not out of grief, not even sadness, but because for the first time in my life, I felt free, free from the role they'd forced on me, free from the guilt they planted like a parasite in my chest, free from the stories they told about who I was supposed to be. The old me had spent 28 years serving everyone but himself. This new version, he had no obligations, no debts, no golden child to bail out, just space, and silence, and the chance to become someone on his own terms. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was ready to start over. There's something oddly powerful about being able to introduce yourself without flinching. For the first time in my life, when I said my name out loud, it didn't feel like a performance. It wasn't a title inherited from people who thought love meant control. It wasn't a name drenched in guilt or followed by an awkward pause. It was just me. With a space I'd carved out in Lisbon, and the silence I'd earned. I started to write. At first, it was just for myself. Late nights spent typing in the dark, trying to make sense of everything I'd lived through. The gaslighting, the emotional blackmail, the way love had always come with conditions. Eventually, I turned those journal entries into blog posts, synonymous, raw, unpolished. I didn't use names. I didn't care about followers. I just wanted the truth out of my body. And then something wild happened. It went viral. One post about the way toxic families redefine love to mean obedience got shared over 20,000 times in a week. Comments started pouring in from strangers around the world. I thought I was the only one. This feels like reading my own life. Thank you for putting words to the pain I never could. For years, I'd been invisible in my own home. Now, people were seeing me not for what I could give, but for what I had survived. I wasn't just healing. I was helping, and for once, not out of obligation, but out of choice. No one could twist my words. No one could demand anything from me. It wasn't about Chloe. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about closure. It was about legacy, one that I got to write from scratch. I had spent my entire life being told who I was. Now, with each post, each comment, each connection, I was finally becoming who I was meant to be, and I didn't owe that to anyone but myself. For most of my life, the word selfish haunted me like a shadow I could never outrun. Every time I said no, every time I paused to think about my own needs, the label got slapped on me like a punishment. Selfish for not paying off Chloe's debts. Selfish for wanting boundaries. Selfish for leaving. But now, sitting in a cafe overlooking the river with a new name, a new life, and peace that isn't borrowed, I see the truth. I was never selfish. They were entitled. Entitled to my money. Entitled to my silence. Entitled to my life. Selfishness isn't choosing yourself. Selfishness is asking someone else to bleed so you can keep dancing. They didn't want a son or a brother. They wanted a fallback plan, a lifeline, a scapegoat in a button-up shirt. And I gave them that version of me for so long, I forgot what it felt like to simply be a person. Now, I know better. I've rebuilt my life brick by brick, not on guilt or obligation, but on clarity. I've made friends who see me without needing anything from me. I've built a purpose from the ashes of my pain. I've stopped explaining myself to people who only ever wanted to twist the story, and if you're reading this right now, that same pull of guilt and duty and emotional blackmail, this is your sign. Owe them your savings. You don't owe them your silence. You don't even owe them a goodbye. Asterisk, walk away. Change your number. Help change your name if you have to. Just don't keep setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. I did what they never expected me to do. I saved myself, and I promise you can too.